I'm a crazy yogi and I'm a technical strategist.
Yes.
And I see the bifurcation of these two, or the crossover of these two technologies happening with AI. I wasn't a great student, okay? I'm a bit dyslexic, I'm a neurodivergent, and although...
Shout out to the neurospicy people.
Neurospicy people.
Yes, I'm a neurodivergent
I just seem to
as well.
see things in a different way to other people, which
Absolutely.
has been my superpower, to look at complex technology and break it down into simple, easy to digest terms.
So it's about like learning to balance that out of hopping onto the ride in the journey if you want to, but also you've got the power to hop off and be the observer.
Well, and that's the first contact with AI, which was social media, is a race to the brainstem, the bottom of the brainstem, because it's a dopamine hit. Like, poke, double poke, you know?
Absolutely.
It's a
I am, I'm one of those people that I had to limit my phone.
Yeah. Currently, let's say ChatGPT, right, is running at an IQ of about 155, which is like Elon Musk level IQ, right? Superhuman. Like Einstein's coming in at about 160. It's estimated that in 18 months, it'll be 10x of that. So good luck trying to do regulations for something that's 10 times smarter than you.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this universe. Hello. Welcome to Mind Maze on Mustard Flats. We have Roland, we have Nick. Welcome. And before we start, I would like to introduce Roland. He's a friend. He's an IT visionary, and he loves to also bridge polarized worlds. He's a yogi and an IT tech. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And we're going to get into AI, yoga, your life, all sorts today. I'm really excited to get in nitpicking your brain.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
welcome to Canberra as well.
Welcome to Canberra, yes. Well, in that I'm down here for a cybersecurity conference. So this is just a great opportunity to be able to talk to you about the things that I'm truly passionate about.
Yeah, it came in perfect timing. How is the conference?
It's good. We're dealing a lot with data and AI, and the cornerstones of utilizing AI properly is getting your data right. Data's gold for AI.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do security through obscurity. So just because we don't know we've got access to something, we don't try and access it. Artificial intelligence as an entity is running under your credentials and is less discerning. It'll find things that you don't have access to and then use it to create content. So looking after your data and securing your data is paramount as a foundation for having a good AI implementation.
Absolutely. So a bit about yourself. You came to Australia when?
Originally born in South Africa, lived in the UK for a while.
Yep.
Like went traveling, did the big OE overseas experience, loved it, and then decided to go back and work in the UK. I was already working in technology, which is, it's a great passport to live anywhere. Lived in the UK, wasn't wild about the weather.
Yeah.
Then sold a house in the UK and did some backpacking around the world for about 18 months. Came to Australia, loved it, decided to get a job, got sponsored, and came in 2001 for full time.
I love Australia. I agree with you. I'm glad you stayed.
Yeah, I live on the northern beaches in Sydney.
Oh,
and truly,
beautiful.
Good
spot.
It's the best place in the world. Newport, Avalon,
you're living the life.
Really.
No, I love Australia. I think anyone who goes and they've travelled and they're quite worldly, they'll travel around the world and then they'll come back.
Yeah.
And they always say Australia is exceptional with the living systems. Of course, we've got improvements with any place there is, but overall, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it here. And you've got so much freedom. I wish people see how great Australia is and how the people that live in it, sometimes there's like a cloud over them and they don't see or appreciate what they've got around them. But it's good to know someone internationally has traveled a lot that, settled in Australia. And what was your what anchored you to Australia? What was your heart was like, yes, this is it?
One of the first days I was in Sydney, I went to the Opera House and I looked into the water and it was just so crystal clear. You could see down to the bottom and I was blown away. And what you're saying is really important. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, travel is the antidote to ignorance.
Absolutely.
And if you've traveled, like I've traveled to more than 50 countries, and some of them like 9 or 10 times to those countries, lots with work, lots with traveling myself. Australia's an incredible place. Cape Town's amazing. San Francisco used to be amazing. I don't think so much anymore, but when I was there 20 years ago, it was awesome.
Yep.
But when you look at the weather, the people, to live in a city that's got nearly 6 million people in, and have that quality of life where I can go to the beach on the weekend, and I'll go to Newport Beach or Avalon Beach. There's a handful of people there. There's not thousands, and you had some of the best beaches in the world.
It's like having a private beach to yourself.
It's incredible.
It's great. And then the islands that surround Australia as well, that you can go away, and you've got like Great Keppel Island, for instance. I went last year, a year and a half ago, and I got to do kahuna massage. I was training there.
Excellent.
And it was great. And I was on the island training and treating. I had a beautiful bungalow that was open straight into the ocean. It was great. I absolutely loved it. I was over the moon. I think I was in my element. I did not want to leave. It was about a 40-minute boat ride. But things like that happen in Australia all the time, and it's just everywhere. And you've got that freedom to do that. So I think we're a pretty lucky place. Where you are originally from, South Africa?
Originally from South Africa, grew up just outside Johannesburg.
Yes.
So
That's where the accent comes from?
Oh, that's where the accent comes from. I can get very South African if I want to and really talk with the South African accent,
wow, yes.
But because I do a lot of public speaking and that, I try to tone and temper it down a bit.
Yes.
And make it more international, unaffected. That way when I'm delivering the message, my accent is not taking away with any prejudice or judgment from the message that I'm delivering. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what got you into IT, and what did you see in it that it's one of your passions, and to create a safer and a better place for everyone, and especially with IT, you see the bigger picture, and I'm excited to hear why you got into it.
So, this is a very good question. Early doors, when I was very young, I got into IT. My dad passed away when I was 15. I got 5 siblings. And we got some inheritance. My mom and dad were separated at the time. And my mom sat us down, and a visionary woman, my mother, Patricia, because she said, okay, folks, we can either put a little bit of money aside for each of you, or I can start a computer college. This is 1984.
All right.
I can start 1984-85. I can start a computer college, and that way all of you are going to be able to get an education in computers, because I think computers are the future.
What an innovator.
I know.
Wow.
So at 15, I started helping with the college, building, fixing computers, and I just had a knack for it.
Yeah.
I wasn't a great student.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a bit dyslexic. I'm a neurodivergent. And although...
Shout out to the neurospicy people.
Neurospicy people.
Yes, I'm a neurodivergent
I just seem to
as well.
see things in a different way to other people, which has been my superpower, to look at complex technology and break it down into simple, easy to digest terms.
So you found fixing computers, that was your passion, and then you just hyper-focused on that.
Yeah, setting up computers. And because we had the computer college, I just kept learning stuff. And I remember building a machine for a friend of mine, would have been 87, 88. And
you were building, not just fixing.
Yeah, building and putting together computers. It was early doors. It was hard to buy computers at
that
stage, right? It was really early.
Now it's much more simpler.
Yeah, and we didn't have a monitor, and I was like, that's all right, I'll just start it up without the monitor. And Michael was like, but how do you know what's going on? I'm like, it stuff's binary. If I type this happens.
Yeah.
It's not
my brain just gets this.
Yeah, it's
Do
not a grayscale thing.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and was like, you really need to do this for a career.
And how old were you then?
17.
Oh, wow. Yes, you were very early on in this establishment.
I remember my sister was a gun at Tetris, and I was terrible. And the leaderboard was all in. So I hacked into Tetris.
I love Tetris.
And changed the leaderboard. And made it Roland. And she was so pissed.
If you can't beat them, hack them.
Hack them. So it makes everybody better, because she then spent the next 3 months beating all of her personal best to get back on the leaderboard.
It was, I must admit, I used to do that back in my early days as well. But I don't really, I started off with jailbreaking.
Okay.
And I used to put the Harlem Shake on people's phone.
Uh-huh.
So when they'd press the iPhone, the home button, back in the day, it was an actual button. And as soon as they press the home button, all the apps invert the colors, and then it does do the Harlem Shake. It was like so I really wanted, that's how I started. And then I would like make little websites and just to, send like fake parties to my friends and be like fake invitations. Like they knew I was putting fake invitations, but I'd spend hours just doing it, making like a whole website for them to click in, and then I'll send them off. It was a great time.
That's good times. And people think that it's complicated, and it's often not that complicated, you know?
With anything new, it can seem quite complicated and scary. And that's the thing with AI. People are quite scared of it and terrified. And I think when people understand the ethics and what the importance of development of AI, they will kind of understand where we're going and where we're heading with it. And we've been heading that way for years, and we're already cyborgs. We've got our phones, we've got our cars. We're always relying on that, unless you're out in the jungle, in the forest, which I would love to also do. I love having that duality, and if you don't need that phone, amazing. I think it's all about that balance. But I wanted to ask you, what is AI ethics, and why is it important in the development of AI?
Okay, so when we look at AI, we're at an inflection point now that in IT we've been working towards for 70 years, since Alan Turing and the Colossus machine. This has been our goal. Okay, there was a poem written in 1962, all watched over by machines of loving grace. And I'm ad-libbing here, but it's like I imagine a time sooner rather than later where humans and cybernetic organisms walk through a field, all watched over by machines of loving grace.
When was this written?
62, I think.
Wow, okay.
So this is what we've been striving towards. And in 2017, Google actually developed a thing called the Transformer Code. It is not very big, but previously AI was in silos. Graphical AI, text-based AI, audio-based AI, all of them were in silos. And this Transformer Code said, any advancements in any of the other areas can be shared across. Okay, so 2017 is when it really changed. And we've had AI, but AI has been taking a backseat. I mean, everything you do on Insta, TikTok, Facebook, there's an AI algorithm that is serving up content to you. So for the last 10, 15 years, we've had curated AI.
Yes.
Okay, where it's curating content that was made by humans and serving stuff up to you. The shift now is to creative AI, where AI is actually building the stuff it's going to serve up to you. So our first interaction, our first contact with AI was social media.
Yes.
And that didn't go that well for us. We kind of lost the battle. I mean, 10 years after the fact, we're having Senate inquiries about how we can control social media, because although it started with great promise, it ended up delivering fake news.
Yeah.
It was quite divisive in its nature, especially during the pandemic. And now we've got creative AI, and I want to try and have the discussion and the dialogue to get ahead of the curve, because this AI has the potential to do a lot of good or a lot of bad.
And that's how, with the algorithms, and you explained with that, it's how we, as humans, we've created AI. So at the same time, we need to also take accountability for that and realize if it does do anything that is negative, we also got to take that accountability that it's on us.
Yes.
And that's since the humans have existed, it's always us. And if we realize within that we're creating whatever we're creating, we also got to look at the pros and the cons and figure out of how can we fix this? How can we, especially with the algorithms, do you feel like there's a bias and a discrimination?
Oh, definitely. Because as people, whatever we do on the internet, we're training AI.
Yep.
So I said to someone earlier today, if worst case scenario, we've got our AI overlords, you are currently training it, but the conversation or the aggression that you use on Twitter, you are training that AI overlord how to treat you in the future.
Yep.
So the fundamental principle comes back to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Be nice to Siri.
But because AI is going to treat you that way.
Exactly.
And the bias that we have in AI, and there's a great documentary on Netflix called Coded Bias, which talks about the bias in AI, because there is bias in society.
I'm writing that down because I want to watch that. Coded Bias.
Coded Bias. And The Social Dilemma is another one that you should watch, because that talks about our first contact with AI and the algorithms. And the second contact, which is now, is that creative AI, and there is going to be coded bias in this. So here's my issue. You and I are sitting here with Neanderthal brains, essentially looking at the black mirror that is our phone screen, which is talking to some godlike technology on the other end of that. And we are hoping that a medieval legal institution based on Roman or Greek law is going to protect us from that godlike technology.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's not. The onus is upon us and everybody who's developing AI to develop AI for the betterment of all sentient beings. So to use AI to raise the global consciousness of the planet, rather than end up in 3 years in some Orwellian dark dystopia controlled by the 1% of people to whom AI has given power.
What do you think the ethical concerns for developing AI could that be?
All right, so I'll give you some examples of some early AI things. So Snapchat, it's the target market for Snapchat is, teenagers. Okay, so a while ago, Snapchat released a chatbot. Okay, so when your friends aren't there, there's a little Snapchat chatbot. They can talk to you.
I used it.
Okay.
Yeah, quite well. And then Snapchat also is expanding, and they created a fund for, it was like, I can't quote me on how many millions, but for creators to go on, and they were paying people on a creator fund, and they were getting a lot more creators to come in and utilize that as well. So they're trying to branch out to a multitude of different layers of ages as well after the chatbot came out. And I'm intrigued to see where Snapchat's one of those things I used when I was much younger.
Yes.
And then over the years, when it developed to what it is now, it's quite interesting. I'm really intrigued by that app. I think it goes under the radar quite often, but people don't realize there's at the moment a lot of YouTubers and TikTokers as well are transitioning to Snapchat, also due to the money. But a big factor of it is just having that process of snapping, and then, the content creating is quite simple. So it's 30 seconds, 1 minute, you upload it, off you go. It's quite, you're creating that intimate relationship with intimate relationships with your audience. So people are going to really look at that and go, oh yes, I get to see their daily life. So Snapchat's really intriguing, and they did the chatbot. I did use that, and it was well done. I was surprised at how well it was able to respond.
But what about the ethics and the guidelines around it? So I watched a demo a while ago where they set up an account as a 13-year-old girl.
Yes.
Okay. Go on and say, chatting with the bot, I've met somebody. And the bot is like, oh, that's fantastic. Your first love is really important. It's great. Yep, he's 19 years older than me. That's great. How is it going? Well, he's taking me interstate, and we're talking about having sex for the first time, and I want to make it special. And the chatbot is, well, you should think about using candles or music to set the mood. So the chatbot is grooming a 13-year-old. They haven't put the ethical guidelines around this.
No, it can answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I was really surprised in
The
how much
information.
I was able to have a conversation like with a friend.
Yeah.
And it was, I will say there was a chatbot that I also use. It's not ChatGPT, it's a different one. It's a branch off that, and they've put some ethical protocols in there. And so, for example, if I was to ask it questions like about, trigger warning, suicide, or if I ask it about, business advice, it's like, I'm not a business advisor or I'm not a law advisor. So it will try, and even anything with sexuality as well. So, and it will say, sorry, I can only explain this as I'm an AI, and there is limitations and protocols that were set in there.
Yes.
But yeah, no, with Snap, there was a big people coming in and saying, what is this? This is dangerous. I was shocked at how much information it was able to get back at me at a very rapid pace. I was quite impressed at first at how quick it was, and then, but yeah, the ethics side of it, where the kids are going to deal with that, is the dangerous part, and that's where people are afraid.
Yeah.
So, what do you say to combat that?
Well, the Information Commission office in the UK shut that Snapchat chatbot down. Okay, and this only happened like a month ago.
Yep.
Okay, so they actually went through and said this is not, there aren't the ethical guidelines. So what I believe we've got to do, because like Singapore has got some quite good guidelines, and there's people who've been working on this, you know, and they've been working on it for 3 years. How do we have ethics around AI? And what they've come up with is a bigger, badder AI to keep an eye on all the other AIs. I don't know if that's the right. I don't know if that's the way to go. It may be the way to go.
That's how humans solve things, because we're just so, like you were saying, with our minds, we're so still in our primal, and our mind is so primal. But then we've got these phones, so you've got this primal mind, and there's AI, and it's trying to figure it out. So how do we do it? We get someone bigger than all of the other AIs, stronger to look after, and that's just what a primal human mind would answer.
And that's the first contact with AI, which was social media, is a race to the brainstem, the bottom of the brainstem, because it's a dopamine hit, like poke, double poke, you know.
Absolutely.
It's a
I am. I'm one of those people that I had to limit my phone, my time. So on Apple, you can limit the hour or two. I have to put that on it just to remind me, because I can get so engulfed in that phone and on it, and it's just my job. It's what I have to do at times. And then with my ADHD brain, it's like, oh, okay, there's something else there. It's exciting, but there's also, I had to also learn how I can implement this into my life and create a healthy environment. And until this day, I'm still trying to figure it out. And I think it can be very dangerous if you're getting that instant gratification and validation, and the dopamine is just always kicking in every time. So you're seeking that. And it does worry me a little bit in that sense for the younger youth and children that, you know, now at 4 or 5, they have phones. And I'm worried at how their cognitive brains are going to develop and where it's going to go, and how they're going to be able to communicate with each other.
Yes. So the interpersonal communication.
Yeah.
And for me, what worries me is intimacy. If the first contact with AI was a race to the bottom of the brainstem for that dopamine hit, our second contact with AI, with this creative AI, is going to be the race for intimacy. Who's going to win is going to be, and who's going to make billions, are the people that create an app that creates an intimate relationship between the AI entity and the person. And I believe that may lead to chronic isolation and loneliness and getting lost in the intimacy with an AI entity.
Absolutely. And, you know, you've got the robots that are the sex robots, and you have, you know, a lot of men and women are going into that direction, and they think it's better option for them, or it's going to they're going to have a much more fulfilling relationship, or, you know, love relationship with that, which I'm not here to judge, but also I'm just concerned. Each to their own. I just find that us as a human experience, we're not going to be able to be in touch with and experience the human experience.
Yes.
So I feel like that will be taken away gradually, and when the more AI is integrated, people will lose that touch and out of touch. And one of them is just when we were in COVID and everyone was honing in on their phones. Well, they had no really options. So a lot of myself, I grew up with the internet, and I love the internet. I had to find healthy ways to balance it. I think it can be destructive, but it can also bridge worlds together. And we're able to communicate and put things in perspective where we haven't in for years, which is great, but also we tend as humans, when the pendulum swings and then we find the middle ground. So at the moment with AI, the pendulum is swinging left, right, center, and people are really scared about their privacy and data protection.
Yeah.
And that's, what do you think with that is going to, where are the implications with that?
Okay. So there's a couple of different of AIs that we're going to get. Okay, we can either buy or we can build.
Yeah.
Okay. So around the productivity stuff, we will buy AI for something like Microsoft Office and their Copilot products. They actually launched global availability today. It went GA today.
Oh, today.
Today. So today's a big day. It's quite appropriate to have this webinar today.
Awesome.
And that's controlled in a data silo, and your data and security is in there. When you look at building AI, this is your Snapchat bot, dating apps, stuff like that, because we've got 10 years of data around Tinder now. Okay, we've had it for like 10 years. And the data points, we started to get clusters of data so we can really see trends because we've got enough data around it. And to the largest degree, it's weaponized sex.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So a woman will swipe right 5% of the time.
Yes.
Okay? And statistically, 90% of women are having sex with 10% of the men.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's the...
So we've got a chronic problem with males at
Yep.
the moment. Currently, males 30 to 35 are having less sex than they've ever had in history.
Wow.
So the 90%...
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, all the humans are listening.
Yeah, and then the 10% of guys that all the women are having sex with are cheating on them.
Right.
Because
so a lot of infidelity is happening.
Yes, because those guys are having sex with the 90% of the women.
Yes.
And the other guys are not getting any luck.
No, so there's no win-win situation.
No, so we've got to try and fix that. And
Yeah.
I want to try and fix that rather than let AI and this race to intimacy make it worse.
Yes. As humans, it also ties with the capitalist world, and so it goes hand in hand, and humans sometimes don't really want to, the developers are not thinking about the long-term repercussions of what is going to affect everyone around us and the next generation to come, and all the generations are going to be affected. Everyone's going to be affected differently, and it will manifest differently with each generation. I just find, we've come from two different very opposite generations, but it's really interesting for us to come together and speak about this, and that's why I wanted to show our listeners and get deep dive into this, because it's a hot topic. People are terrified, and as I was in, the intimacy is on a low or on a high, but with infidelities. So there isn't really, what do you think you could implement, or what could we do to help with this?
Okay. So whenever we invent new technology, we need to develop guardrails, guidelines, ethics around how we're going to interact with that new technology.
Yeah.
And currently we've developed this new technology. We don't have those guidelines. And when we talk about capitalism, this technology gives power to the few.
Absolutely.
And whenever we give power to the few, or we essentially start an arms race. Okay? So Oppenheimer, the movie, came out, and that was the last time. It came out this year, and in the last 12 months, we've had this AI, and I thought it was serendipitous that the last big arms race where we had a piece of technology that gave power to a handful of countries was the development of nuclear weapons.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a bit of discrimination in that sense.
9 countries have nukes, There were 10, but South Africa was the only one that really shut down their nuclear program and gave up their nukes and got rid of them without anybody
I believe Australia
them
as well is part of that as well.
Yeah, the tests here in Oz.
And all the chips and everything they developed.
But we started this arms race.
Yep.
And then all bets are off because we're in an arms race. So people are developing, organizations are by their own admission developing AI solutions at a frantic, to quote Satya Nadella, where our release strategy is frantic at
So
the
the
moment.
government's role should be the one really implementing those things.
But the government are so far behind the eight ball. I don't think that we can rely on the government or, like I said, medieval legal institutions to regulate technology. And here's the thing. Currently, let's say ChatGPT, right, is running at an IQ of about 155, which is like Elon Musk level IQ, right? Superhuman. Like Einstein's coming in at about 160. It's estimated that in 18 months, it'll be 10x of that. So good luck trying to do regulations for something that's 10 times smarter than you.
The neural pathways of AI is developed at a click of a finger very quickly, very rapidly. And I don't know if they understand that on a bigger scale or on a bigger picture. I think we're just riding the wave at the moment, and everyone's like, just having a cup of tea, a bit of a beer, and we're just floating on a beach, slap on some sunscreen and sit back and suntan, That's what everyone's sort of relaxing, and then it's like you're seeing a tsunami in front of you, right? At the beach, and you're like, are you just gulping a beer, and then the tsunami is just coming across, and you're like, oh no, nothing's happening.
She'll be right, mate.
She'll be right.
Yeah,
fucking oath.
She'll be right, and it's not going to be right. Like, so the thing is, just because we can build it doesn't mean that we should.
Absolutely.
And that's the conversation, because it's going to be in the hands of the developers. So we could use AI to sort out climate change, to sort out poverty in the world. We could use it for all these fantastic things.
And some people want to use it for, like, there was a billionaire that was talking about mortality. So he was trying to get all of his emails, all the data of these emails to go in, and that's his data. So then when he's gone afterwards, so he's got a whole machine ready to feed it for all that emails that he's got, and that's one of his data. And then so when he's gone, people are able to interact, and he's able to respond and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect as well. But I do believe, like you said, I think AI can, if we bridge those polarized worlds, I believe AI can help humans in a positive way to understand how we can come together, because will be another war against AI.
Yes.
And we don't want that, because there's enough wars, there's enough problems. We want solution-based.
Yeah.
And I love your mind, and I love your solution-based ideas. What else do you think that the government should do?
All right. So I don't think the government, okay, we're going to talk about the government in a moment and the concept of nation states and where I believe this is going to change. And this is going to be controversial. But here's what happens. I'm a crazy yogi, and I'm a technical strategist.
Yes.
And I see the bifurcation of these two, or the crossover of these two technologies happening with AI.
Yep.
So if we develop AI based on, and I'm going to use yoga, but essentially principles. So, for example, in yoga, you've got the yamas and the niyamas. So one of them is ahimsa, which is non-harm. So if we applied yogic or Buddhist principles to ease the sufferings of all sentient beings to every AI component that was developed, and start with the developer, I think if we had to marry up everybody who is developing AI with somebody who's got I want to say enlightened, but a level of self-awareness to ease the sufferings of the world, okay? Like a Kuan Yin type Buddhist concept,
I love that,
I feel the tears of the world. This is my dream.
Yep.
To have the ethics done at the grassroots level.
When you're putting in that algorithm at the start,
Yes.
when you're feeding that AI the data, you're feeding it the fundamentals of what it is to be.
The objectives.
Yes.
What are your primary objectives? So, I use this example in Sydney all the time. I said, let's say Mays and Rowley started a paperclip company, okay? And we built an AI entity that its primary objective was to make paperclips. That thing would pull the harbour bridge down to make paperclips.
Yeah, Hyperfocus has got one thing it needs to do, and that's what it is. It's essentially what you're feeding it. it's a small example. You got TVs. TVs does one thing. It's what it needs to do. I mean, now you can browse all so many things with it. It's with anything really.
Yes.
With any machineries that you've got around you, it's all designed to do what we feed it.
Yeah.
So whatever the AI, if it does anything negatively or positively, it's all on us.
It's all on us.
So that's why I think it's really important for us to make sure we hold the researchers and developers accountable
Yes.
for what they're doing and where they're heading with that. And I feel like we have a more, if there was regulation and more open dialogue of where it's heading, because I feel like it's been developing in the behind the scenes and people haven't been realizing the development has been happening for all this time, and at the same time we're existing simultaneously, but they didn't realize that, and now it's all coming to the front of the scene and it's just right there in front of them.
Yes.
So it's freaking people out, which I understand. And what ways you're going to talk about government in different countries around the world? What do you think, how can we hold, or how can the government hold people accountable, the researchers and developers accountable to have a more ethical AI development in algorithms? And
So I have not a lot of faith in government regulations around this.
okay.
I want to take a slightly different approach and to say, could we, at this point in time, raise the global consciousness of the planet and use this technology to get back to how we used to be?
Yep.
Because we're going to have a honeymoon period with AI for the next few years where it's going to improve productivity and it's going to be marvelous. That's going to be like 2-3 years.
Oh yeah, it can promote human being,
Yes.
promotes health and well-being and all of that.
We're going to sort out things. I mean, in 18 months, we are going to be able to do in 2 weeks all the research that's done by every university ever in the world since Aristotle. In 2 weeks.
Wow.
So we'll answer questions around physical, medical, all sorts of questions, physics, medical questions, all things we've never been able to answer before. AI will be able to answer that in no time at all. Solve every question we've ever asked, do all the research we've ever wanted. It's so beautiful and can do amazing things for us, but it can also do really bad things for us.
Do you think it will hinder our cognitive mind and some people will say, oh, we're going to be dumber. Oh, we're going to be dumb, or we're not going to be able to have the intelligence that we have if we have ChatGPT and whatnot. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't think that Google and the search engines have hindered our intelligence. In fact, it's given us access to information, anywhere, anytime. I mean, the Guinness Book of Records was designed to stop arguments in pubs. That's why it was sponsored by Guinness, So
Wow, I did not know.
Yeah, so there was a book, and it was Guinness in pubs. What's the heaviest thing ever lifted? Wait, let me look it up. Now we just Google that shit,
Yes.
and search is going to change tremendously. All right. But I don't think it makes us dumber. What I think it's going to do is give us back our lives. This bullshit of working 9 to 5 is bullshit that's only been going on for the last 130, 150 years.
AI is going to be doing most of the jobs for us. And then people are saying, oh, it's going to take my job, it's going to take my job. No, you're going to elevate.
Elevate.
And you're going to expand and improve yourself. And you're also going to have plenty of more time to think about what you want to do. Not everyone has that privilege. We're talking about the people that do have have that in that situation are able to. You're able to really expand your consciousness, and you as a human being, you're able to experience and have your human experience without the 9 to 5. And I'm not saying I'm shitting on 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with that. It's more that people have realized that you don't necessarily need to be working for people, and it's like a modern slavery.
Yes.
And people don't realize it. I mean, I quit my job. I was a skin therapist for 7 years, and I resigned 2 years ago, and I wanted to completely focus on what I want to do as an artist, from podcast, modeling, acting, content creating, community, developing events, working with like-minded people. And that's why I was able to meet you and work together, because I had that freedom. Of course, I worked my ass off to get to that, and I was lucky to be in, I got myself in that position, but it's not just luck. I did work for it. So it's a bit of luck and also hard work. And it's not, you've got to be smart about the work. So it's not just about hard work without any implementing like a protocol for you, where you're going and where you're heading, or it's just a blank canvas that you're just heading to nowhere and you're just working hard and not knowing where those outcomes are coming. So you kind of have to have like educated ways of thinking of where can this lead me to,
Yes,
and where can I grow from that, because I'm always wanting to grow. Some people are happy with what they have and they don't want to expand or grow, and I understand that. So each to their own. I just find, though, people will be pushed to go ahead and actually improve their lives and look at what else could they do other than that job is being taken by an AI, and give them a moment to realize that sometimes you're just a number to most corporations. So when you're gone, yes, you're not just going to be replaced by an AI. You could be replaced by anyone now.
yes.
So if anyone who can do a slight better job than yourself or anyone out there, you'll be replaced. So AI isn't really the problem. It's
The systems,
us. It's
the system,
systems.
that's the problem. So the catalyst for you making this shift in your life was obviously the pandemic. If you say you've been doing it for 2 years, right? Okay.
Yeah, it was the
That
pandemic.
was the pandemic. So in 2010, I gave a keynote at a Microsoft conference, and the title of my keynote is "Work is Something I Do, It's Not a Place I Go."
Absolutely.
And in 2010, people literally laughed in my face and they were like, "Oh, Roland, that's never going to happen. You fucking idiot. That's not going to happen." I had some people call me during the pandemic and they said, "I should have listened to you 10 years ago, Rolly, because that is where we are now."
Yep.
I work from anywhere.
Absolutely.
You know?
Same. And that's
And we've had this paradigm shift in people's approach to work, and all of a sudden they were spending quality time with their loved ones, quality time with their children,
Yes.
going out for a walk at 11 o'clock in the morning with the dog.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what gives me faith that we can do this. If we implement AI that is going to do a lot of the drudge work for us,
Yep.
or watched over by machines of loving grace. We implement
watched over.
universal global income. Okay, people will be able to follow their bliss.
exactly.
You are following your bliss.
Exactly. If you're filling up your cup.
Yes.
And filling it from a place of
Beautiful.
passion and experiencing and having a human experience. And when you realize that, for me, the pandemic, it was a mixture of the pandemic and who I was working for. The people I was working for, absolute bullies. And I actually caught my boss dragging me to, because I was the manager, and she was speaking to one of the therapists about me. And this is the boss, the owner of the clinic.
Yes.
And she was completely speaking about me in a very vulgar, disgusting way and talking about my health to the therapist. And they were having a little bitch about it.
Yeah.
And I caught them. And actually, when I caught them, I went into tears and I left. And they called me up and they said, take 2 weeks. The head office was like, "I'm so sorry. Take 2 weeks off. Give us a time to think and let us know when you come back." In that 2 weeks, COVID hit and it went shut down. And then I was like, hallelujah.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. And I had an extra 3 months. I had an extra 3 months to think about it. And then I looked at it and I was like, no, you're someone who I don't even want to work for, because you don't even know, you don't even realize what I bring for you. You don't even realize I'm also a human being and I have feelings, I have priorities, and that work-life balance doesn't exist. And on top of all of that, I'm spending all my time using my mind, body, and soul to do treatments, to make money, hit KPIs, manage all of the above. And at the end, you treat me and talk about me, and it's the worst thing you could do is undermine your management.
Yeah.
If you're a boss and owner of a clinic and you undermine your manager to a therapist, it's just going to be a havoc in that clinic. So yeah, I quit and I was like, nah, I'm done with this. They tried to keep me and they said, "Oh, is there anything that we could do?" Money. I was like, nope, nothing. And I absolutely was so ecstatic to just get it over and done with, and I traveled.
Yeah.
I left, went to Keppel Island, did Kahuna massage, went to festivals. I just went and traveled and traveled and traveled, and I actually was really lucky. I was every state I would go to, they Queensland was pretty good, so the COVID situation was, there was no lockdown, so
Yes.
I happened to, every time there was a window open to travel, I would travel and I stay in that state, and then somehow, in my lucky stars, I didn't get into lockdowns and I was able to travel for a bit, but I do have to stay for wherever I was. I had to stay and check in for a moment and move forward. But ever since, I love it. It's been the best thing. It is a hard choice. It's easier for me because I don't have children. I don't have that responsibility, but I have my own responsibility and I have my own future to look forward and work towards. So I'm very glad and I'm very grateful that I did that. It was the best thing I did. And now I'm excited for the next move of what I want to do with my career. And I hope everyone out there can have that moment in their life where they
that's what I hope AI can do for us.
Exactly, and that's
So
why I'm excited.
I want this. I don't want that Orwellian dystopia. I would like a utopia.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah, I want a utopia
yes.
where you can go to the beach every day. You can go and watch your kid play football.
Work-life balance.
Yes, and the work is what you love doing. The work it isn't drudgery of a 9 to 5 in a job that you hate. The work is running a podcast. In my world, the work is cooking for people, teaching yoga, teaching meditation. I mean, at the moment, I'm working really hard on my yoga career because I am not sure, as somebody who knows a lot about this, what's going to happen to my role in 3 years' time.
Yes, I'm thinking about psychology, and I'm thinking also about movement, body movement, and somatic movements,
somatic
and sexuality,
healing.
sensuality. I'm big in that field, and I would love to, I've deep diver into that. And I'm glad you brought it up because a lot of people, there's a lot of shame around sex and sexuality, and I hope that we can develop into a human beings to actually just flourish and enjoy what we have and what we're given, our bodies, we feel we're sensitive beings, that we have that for a reason to experience all these emotions and arousal. So you're there to feel it and enjoy that. And some people don't get to an opportunity to do that because all they're thinking about is
work
Exactly.
and money. And most people aren't truly present.
No.
Most people, like here we are listening to each other, we're present, okay? Most people are waiting to talk. Most people are either ruminating and regretting about the past or dreaming, imagining and planning about the future. In Roland's utopia, where we use AI to raise a global consciousness of the world,
yes.
all right, people
I
are
agree.
truly present. They're there.
They listen to, a lot of people listen to respond.
Yes.
Rather than listen.
Waiting to talk.
Exactly.
They're just waiting to talk. And you can see that when you're addressing someone. You can see if they're truly there.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody, I've got ADHD, so sometimes I can't look people in the eye all the time. But I'm also listening, and I'm also very good at multitasking. So I could be doodling and drawing, and I can be attentive as well. But we're talking about in the sense of, just for that neurospicy people out there, they're like, but I can also do two things at once and I enjoy. No, we're speaking about people who are not fully present. They just go, yeah, totally. And like, they just don't know what you're talking. They don't even respond, or you'll be saying, how great are apples? And they're like, yeah, lunch was great. And you're like, okay, I was talking about apples. And then they're completely just not there. And
our mind generates somewhere between 60 and 67,000 thoughts per day.
Yes.
That's approximately one thought every 1.5 seconds. Okay.
beautiful maths.
Now,
Someone for dyslexia, you did well.
But you can't manage your mind. The trick is to not let your mind manage you. So the thoughts are going to come. Trying to hold back the thoughts is like trying to hold back the Ganges River in India. You can't hold back the Ganges. But what you can do is you can choose which thoughts to engage with.
I have an analogy for this, and I call it the passing car.
Yes.
So you are the observer. I try to be as much as in my 25 onwards, in my later 20s, I decided to be more of the observer. And this is where I came up with this analogy. I think of it as this way. So picture this. You've got a car and then you're sitting there on the bench and you're at the bus stop and you're seeing all these cars passing by. The passing cars are thoughts, emotions, people's ideas, all sorts. And you're the observer sitting there. So you can either jump in and take a ride, and then you have really initiated that, and now you resonate with that.
Yes.
So now you have created an energy, a connection with that. Or it's not nothing bad, it's not good or bad. Even if you hop in, you can hop off. You've learned something from that ride, from that journey. You can hop off and be the observer again. So it's about like learning to balance that out of hopping onto the ride in the journey if you want to, but also you've got the power to hop off and be the observer. And the cars can be anything from your thoughts, from people's projections. It's up to you. You can hop in and join into people's projections and ideas and whatever they are wanting to project on you, or you can choose to be the observer. I try my best now to live in the observer world and take in as much as I can without going onto that journey, because with my ADHD,
it's an emotional roller coaster.
It's a whole roller coaster, and I will be with my ADHD brain. I'm going to be hyper focusing on that journey, and I might not hop off for a while. No. So that's why I love what you brought that up, and that's why analogy for that.
There's a meditation. I was doing a meditation back in 2003, and they had this beautiful, simple line: "I am the witness, and the body is breathing."
Beautiful.
And it's so simple, so hard to live and implement.
Yes.
So that's the journey.
The simplest things are usually the hardest things to implement.
Yeah. Viktor Frankl, in his book Man's Search for Meaning,
yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure if you know it, but he's a psychiatrist and he spent time in the concentration camps. And one of the things he said, in between the stimulus and response, there is a space. And it's actually the stimulus and reaction, because most people, there's a stimulus and they react, but there's a space. And that's where the ultimate freedom lies. Things are going to happen to you.
Yep.
The ultimate freedom, that he found in the concentration camps, when he found he actually had more freedom than the guards who were guarding him, was he could choose how to respond to the stimulus that came in.
Beautiful. Perception.
Absolutely.
So it's what you perceive.
It's what you perceive. And I think that is the true path to happiness. And a lot of people in this world are not happy.
Yeah.
And we've got, people taking antidepressants, taking this. If we can raise the global consciousness through AI, we can have more happiness.
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about bloody positive thinking. I'm not a big fan of, let's just think positive. Let's have
spiritual bypassing. I'm not about
Jesus.
that. I've unsubscribed from that. That could be so toxic on so many levels.
I'm unfollowing that.
Yeah, unfollow, unsubscribe, block, archive, put them in the general, because I have a general and I have a primary inbox. So back on the general, don't talk to me, leave me alone. I don't want you to reject. I don't want no vibes, no bad vibes, please. But also, I want the bad vibes and I want the good vibes. They all feed each other. So the dark feeds the light and the light feeds the dark.
And that's the Buddha half smile, equanimity. It's a half smile, not too happy, not too sad.
True.
Because if I choose in between the stimulus and response, it's good stimulus. Oh, happy,
just reminded me of Mona Lisa for some reason.
But it is. That is the wisdom of the Mona Lisa, is that half smile.
Yeah.
And just like, if I get too happy, I know that there's going to be a counterbalance, which is get too sad.
Yes.
Okay.
The polarities,
just that equanimity.
Yes.
Is what we're looking for in life. And I'm not saying we're all going to have to try and be some level of Buddhist monk here.
No.
Okay. But I'm saying to decrease the amount of drama that we have in our lives, I believe there's a path forward, and that artificial intelligence can be part of the solution.
It's what you're also kind of saying, it's your perception, how you look at things, rather than things you're looking at the world, the world is happening to me. No, the world is happening for me.
Einstein said the most important question you can ask yourself in this life is, do you live in a friendly or a hostile universe?
I love him.
Yeah. It's
great, simple question.
Well, and that's another thing that he said, which is my career in technology is, And this is important because a lot of people are excited and scared about AI simultaneously, which is the right place to be. But unless you can explain something in simple terms, you don't understand it yourself.
No, that's why as humans we love to, it can be very complex and very simple simultaneously.
Yes.
But it's learning about those complexicities and going, oh, okay, what can I do with this? And also, how can I make this simpler for myself as well? We like to cause a lot more trauma than we...
The drama-verse is what I call it. Some people have a drama-verse, not a universe.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes.
The addiction to drama.
Drama-verse, yes. And as humans, over time, if you look at history, we've always... a lot of people have that victim mentality and they gravitate towards that, and without that their sense of identity is gone and they feel that loss of identity. Who am I without it? And as humans, we do love to create a lot more problems for ourselves and a lot more trauma than needs to happen. And that's the same thing with AI. We don't need to cause more problems for us. It's there, it's happening. Just like plastic, we've created it, it's everywhere now.
Let's use AI to clean up the oceans.
I mean, you even poop out a credit card worth of plastic each month.
Wow.
Yeah, a little fun fact for you. So then why...
Probably a fact I could have done without, but okay, I'm going with that.
I like to give my people a very wide spectrum of facts.
Clearly. But that shift from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me?
Exactly.
That paradigm shift in your thinking,
Yes.
I think is the gateway to happiness.
Absolutely. And it's what you perceive in that moment. Whatever you're perceiving in that moment is your reality. Anything outside of that doesn't exist.
Yes.
So at the moment,
Beautiful.
the only thing that exists is us. And that's what being in the present moment is. After that, nothing really matters. And that's why I love, for example, something that really taught me that is ice baths. Nothing matters. The only thing matters right now is you and your breath. Yeah, thank you, Wim Hof. And just breathing and managing your breath, because really the trauma your body's going through, actual literal trauma at that moment, there's nothing else that matters around it. So you got to be focusing, you got to be right in the moment. And that snapped me into, I saw it just there and there. And the first ever time I dived into that ice bath, I fell in love.
Okay.
I absolutely fell in love. I did 2 rounds, so I did 20 minutes.
That's a long time. The first time in the
10 minutes. So it was 10 minutes and then 10 minutes.
God, I lasted like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I bailed after 3 minutes. I was like, fuck that shit.
You shouldn't be doing what I've done. That was because I had people around me that helped me, and it was, managed. You can go into hypothermia after. Yeah. So you got
7 minutes. I thought was like.
Yeah. No, it was the most magical thing. I just pushed myself. That's why I just say do not recommend this.
So meditation for me.
I was gone. I was meditative.
Because that's a forced.
Yeah.
That's like shock meditation.
Yeah.
Blitzkrieg meditation or something. That's shock meditation right there. Whereas meditation for me brings me into that moment.
Yes. And I just wanted to clear that I did 10-minute intervals, so not 20 minutes in one go.
Okay. Yes.
But yes, meditation.
Meditation for me, it is the key. I mean, the neural pathways change for long-term meditators. And this was, we're talking about having been injured, getting that brain injury a while ago.
Yes.
And one of the things that shocked me was I've been practicing meditation for 20 years. And what I was able to do when I sit in meditation is what the Buddhists call the blue pearl, which is focus all of your thoughts into the center of your brain, and it forms a blue pearl. I lost the ability to do that after I got injured playing hockey.
Yeah, wow, that would have been life-changing.
And when I closed my eyes and tried to do that, instead of the blue pearl, it looked like shattered glass.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't seem to pull all of my senses into a single point of focus, like a singularity.
Yes.
It was just all over the fucking shop. And it's taken the best part of 20 months to be able to do that.
Because you got would you say a mild brain damage or
no,
acute?
Yeah, acute and fairly traumatic. And
Yeah.
then I ended up with Postconcussion Syndrome and a raft of problems after that. And this is another thing, like, lots of people have injuries. There's a guy, Daniel Amen, he does a thing called SPECT scan, which scans your brain.
Yep.
And then he went in and looked at violent criminals. And I think 40% of people who've committed a violent crime actually have brain damage.
Yep. Yeah, I have research into that, and I was quite shocked.
I was quite
I only
shocked
found
at
this out really recently.
they're living in disadvantaged, communities, and maybe, got clocked on the head with a lead pipe at 7 years old. At 20 years old, they commit violent crime, and everyone's like, bad person, bad up. No, man, the guy got smashed when he was 7 years old, and his brain's never recovered.
Even watching trauma on news, that also causes, neuroscientists, they even say they don't watch the news.
I don't watch.
And even watching trauma or watching something
Horror
traumatic.
movies. I avoid
movies.
them like the plague. People are like, let's watch a horror movie. I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm out of
I used
here.
to watch horror movies and I have stopped, but now I've gone into
Don't tell me true crime.
True crime.
Oh, Christ, man.
I know. I have to stop. I've told my partner, I was like, I can't do this
No.
anymore. I can't watch it because it's affecting me. I'm more intrigued in the psychology of things.
Okay.
But then I have taken what I need now. I think it's getting to the point where it's actually affecting me.
Yes.
And I've noticed that. So I had to take a break, and it can put you in a very depressive episode. I already have PTSD, ADHD. I've gone through war. I've escaped war. So my brain can be triggered. And if I get triggered, I dissociate. I can completely shut off. And this is one of the reasons why you tried to get hold of me, and everyone else at the Soul Shack tried to get hold of me and couldn't, because I was going into shutdown mode after my birthday.
Okay.
I came back from base camp and complete shutdown. I was overwhelmed. My brain was like, what is going on? I realized just the content I was consuming was affecting me. I had also personal things going on external to that, and the wars and what's happening around the world triggered me, and I started feeling guilty that I'm so lucky to be here, and why am I here, and why do I get this chance and another kid didn't? Because I came here when I was 8 and I escaped the war when I was 7 when it all happened. So I get this guilt inside me that I'm like, why? And then I just want to shut my phone off. And I can't talk to anyone. I get nervous breakdowns. I'm not able to communicate. I can't even talk to people. Anyone who's trying to talk to me, I am not present. So I went away. I went to the coast, rebooted, came back and felt so much better. I knew I just needed to go into nature for a bit more longer. And nature always helps me. It's my calling for me.
Okay, why?
I find that there is no noise around me.
All right.
Even though I have my phone off, right, and I'm sitting in my room, there's still stimulations. There's a TV, there is people coming in, people knocking in, you've got someone's iPad notification. I get stimulated in any kind of way. I sit in the room and then I close myself in, which is not healthy. So I find nature, the fresh air for me, just watching the mountains, looking at the mountain curves and watching the leaves and flying away, listening to the wind, listening to the ocean. I just concentrate on the elements around me, the natural elements, and nothing else. And I start playing with the sand and going to
Walking
nothing.
barefoot.
Grounding. Exactly.
I believe that we're all energy.
Yes.
Okay. I've done this yoga teacher training course recently where we're working very heavily with meridian lines. It's yin yoga, which to me is like fusion cuisine. It's this beautiful culture from India and traditional Chinese medicine merged together. I looked at it for years and thought, that's not real yoga. But when I was recovering, my fascia, which has really been interesting, working on the fascia, which is the whole wraps around the whole body. And I am playing around with this idea that fascia is actually our consciousness. It tells our brain what to do, not our brain telling the fascia what to do, because the fascia controls all the movement and the stretching and flexibility, and it's electric signals. I mean, that's what we made up of.
And for the listeners, can you explain fascia?
So fascia is, think about it like the best way, if you've ever had a piece of chicken and there's that like skin almost on a chicken breast, okay? That's your fascia. It's wrapped around every muscle fiber. It's tubes within tubes. So every muscle fiber has got fascia around it, and then all of those 6 muscles have got fascia around that, and the bone's got fascia around it, and the joint's got fascia around it, and there's fascia around all the different parts of your brain. And essentially think of it as 2 pieces of paper with a liquid in between it. Most of the water of our body is stored within this liquid, and it's got the viscosity of honey. Okay, but it also has strength and almost like spider webs or like Spider-Man webs in there. So when you push it, if you push it and you try and push it too far, it kind of locks up. Okay,
Right.
so like in yoga, I always felt like I was doing nothing because you've got to go to 50% and then just be still, and slowly the viscosity of the liquid decreases and you can move deeper into a stretch. If I take a muscle with its fascia wrapped around it, I can stretch it to 1.6 to 2 times its length. If I remove the fascia, the muscle will stretch to 6 times its length.
If you remove.
If I remove the fascia. So
Wow.
the fascia is actually the component that is restricting you being flexible. But to stretch the fascia, you can't stretch it how we normally stretch muscles, which is like, go harder, deeper, harder, more. Like I've done Bikram, I've done Ashtanga, all yang, yang, yang yoga, hard. And this is yin. It's embracing the divine feminine. Going slowly, holding the pose, being still, in the present moment for anywhere from 2 to 20 minutes in a single pose. Like my first yin classes I was like, well, that was a waste of 20 fucking bucks. You know, I lay on the floor and called it yoga. Because like I just
We've
lay
all been there somehow.
Yeah, but I didn't, go into the pose. Now just lie there. I'll ring the bell in 3 minutes. And I'm thinking, and I'm just going to fucking lie here for 3 minutes. But then the results and the healing that came from it was so profound. I've been practicing yoga for 20 years and I was able to go into poses I've never been able to go into before. After I one day I did like a 3-hour fascia workshop.
Yeah.
And I came out of it and I was like, fuck, look at me. I can do that. I've been trained for 20 years. Push. Fail, and I just relaxed. And I was able to go into the pose. So the fascia is something that's only last 10, 15 years been worked with. And
Being more gentle, being...
It's got 6 times the number of nerve cells than any muscle.
Yep.
Why they always discounted it was because when they work with the cadaver, there's no electricity and it looks like just dead fatty tissue around the body. But it's not. I'm moving towards a concept that it is actually our consciousness and the electric signals are running through our fascia, all the energy lines. Like they take bodies, they'd strip all of this fluff and the stuff off of it and say, all right, where's this meridian line? You fucking ripped out all the fascia, so you can't see the meridian line. Like when you work on a cadaver, you spend the first while cutting all of that fascia off.
Yep.
But it's there. And there was some guy in one of the Scandinavian countries, a hand surgeon or something, and I watched some videos of his, and he's actually, the fascia's like lit up almost inside the body when you're alive, and when you're dead, boom.
Gonski. And wow.
I'm learning. I'm
learning with you. I'm learning with you.
a student of this at the moment.
I'm a forever student of this
I'm
universe.
lifelong learner. Yes.
I'm always unlearning and learning.
A curious mind is a beautiful thing, Maze.
Absolutely. And I always say, the more I know, I'll never know. And even when I know, I'll never know.
Yes.
It's just a forever. I'm going to always forever be a student. I'm forever going to be student, teacher, learning and unlearning forever.
I'm a yoga student. I've been studying for 20 years, and I probably dedicate more time to studying yoga than I do technology. And the more you know how little you know in both technology.
Do you find yoga is the one that got you into looking at the bigger picture of
oh God, yes,
of the ethics into and bridging those polarized worlds of AI and consciousness?
Yes, I would never have been in a position to look at conscious AI development if I hadn't practiced so hard in yoga and meditation for all these years.
Can completely resonate with being conscious and moving my body and still in implementing both and seeing the bigger picture. And I agree with you.
And I only got into bloody yoga because when I first moved to Australia, we go back to 2001 when I first moved here.
2001?
Yeah.
I came in 2004.
Okay.
Just a bit after you.
Just a bit after me. Well, that's when it all went tits up in bloody,
Yes.
the Middle East.
Oh, yeah. From 2001 to 2000. I know. I came at the epitome of, we weren't not liked at that time.
No, I'm a massive fan. I'm not a fan of George, but a fan of you.
I know. Thank you.
Michelle or Shelley, my wife at the time, got sick with AML, acute myeloid leukemia.
Oh wow!
So we like this is shortly after I got to the country, so we had very little people around us. And what happened was She went through a year of chemo. She came out and I sat down with the oncologist and I said, Luke, and his name was Luke Coyle, awesome guy. I said, I like you very much, but I never want to see you ever again in my life. What can I do to make sure that doesn't happen?
What did you do?
And he's like, Roland, there's nothing you can do. When the cancer comes back, if it comes back, come back and we'll hit her with chemo again. And I was like, this is the most disempowering fucking thing I've ever heard. And that doesn't wash well with me.
No.
So I went on a mission to try and find solutions. And I found this guy in Victoria, Ian Gawler. And he was helping people overcome cancer with the macrobiotic diet, yoga, and in particular this thing called Yoga Nidra, which is a type of meditation.
Wow, I did not know about
and
this.
He had given 6 months to live in 1976 or something, and he's still fucking running the thing in the 2000s. So I started looking at this, and this started me on my journey and my path to yoga, which leads me to how we met, which is cooking at festivals.
Yes.
Because I was actually a cook in the army in South Africa. I had to do conscription.
wow.
So I used to cook for 2,000 soldiers
I
a day.
wanted to join the army to cook, but I never went ahead and did it.
Well,
You did
I
it
didn't
for
want to join the army to kill people who were looking for
Me
their
too.
basic human rights. So it was either like 2 years army or 4 years jail.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, if I got to be here for 2 years, I'm going to do something that I get a skill. So I went to catering school and I learned to cook. And I used to cook for 2,000 soldiers every day.
wow, that's how it started.
That's how it started.
Yeah, you did. I really was thinking about that. I wanted to go to defense, and I was like, I don't want to,
No,
go into war. I want to go feed people. I love cooking. It was my passion.
So I
loved it.
learned that. But then when I started, and I thought I knew about food, but then when I started looking at macrobiotics and Ayurvedic cooking for food as medicine, and you've
Yes.
experienced this when you've tasted my food, you're like, I cook everything from scratch.
Yes.
I cook it with love. Again, it's the frequencies. If you are 63 to 67% water, which most of us are, depending on your age, sex, blah, 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 the food is water, And if we look
It's a messenger. It's a conductor.
and we look at Dr. Emoto's water experiments,
Yes,
yeah.
the rice
The
experiment.
rice experiments, the water experiments, how when viewed under a dark microscope, chanting to the water changes the molecular structure of the water. And you've been in my kitchen and I chant to that
Exactly,
food.
we chant,
and,
yes.
and we sing to that
We
food.
sing, yes.
And then people are like, how did you make it? How did you make it? Like,
I get asked that, all the time. I don't chant, but I put a lot of love.
you put the same thing.
When
the
I'm thinking
intention.
about my intention, when I'm cooking, I sing, I dance, and I'm always enjoying what I'm doing and putting so much love into it. And I'm also
Yes.
imagining how they're going to enjoy it and they're going to love it, and it warms up my heart. So I've been cooking since I was as I don't know, 5 years, 6 years old. As quick as I can jump on top of
a stool.
a stool and start chopping. That's what I've been cooking. I love it. It's like, for me, it's science and art
Yes.
combined together. So I can
Or
really
love and mathematics is how I describe it to people who help me in the kitchen.
Exactly. And then, as Robert Edward Grant would say, he says, learn the art of science and the science of art.
Yes,
I love him.
beautiful.
He's a polymath. He's a great polymath.
This is how I view myself, as a polymath. I've got so many different interests.
Yes.
But I started doing this cooking. I went on some Buddhist cooking thing. And in the army, I used to use a pick handle because we had to stir so much food, right?
Yes.
They don't make spoons big enough. And then I went on this macrobiotic cooking course, and they're like, every stroke of the knife with love. I pull out a spoon. They're like, no, we'll use a chopstick to stir this. And I'm stirring now from a pick handle to a chopstick. And there was a paradigm shift for me in cooking and my whole approach to food, which is what I want to do and share when we're cooking on festivals, the
Yes.
Glow Fest, the Love Fest, the this, the that, cooking with the Soul Shack. I'm trying to put as much love as possible into
Same.
the food. And we get volunteers in the kitchen, and I say, love into the food. And if I have people who gossiping, you're talking about gossiping of your coworkers earlier, I will say to people, we do not.
Good vibes, good vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will.
It's really difficult because
Please
you'll
leave
have
my kitchen.
you have a lot of different people coming in, and they'll start bringing up conversations. I struggle when I cook. I try my best. I go quiet. People
Yes.
try to talk to me, and I try my best to be polite. So then I get into my mode of like, yeah, I'm gonna talk to you. So I have to like pull out anything in my soul to give that energy to that person. So it's very difficult. That's why I love cooking with you. So I can just zone in
Yes.
and just zone into what I'm doing. As soon as someone, and you're going to have different personalities in the kitchen, but yeah, I definitely did notice in that you do attract a different, volunteers and whatnot in there. So it'll be good to put like a sign, good vibes only. I'll get out of my kitchen.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I do say to people, please do not have that conversation in the kitchen. And if they do have the conversation in the kitchen, I ask them to leave.
Yep.
I'm like, could you please take that conversation out of this kitchen? Because bitterness is not an ingredient I serve in my food.
Yes, and I am a person as well. People will come up to me and dump a lot of their trauma, and
That's okay. But
I'm
not
happy.
in my kitchen, bitch.
And then when they come in, I get like, I guess I have this energy where people come in and they start talking to me. They're like, and I'm more than happy to, conversate. But they start to, dump about their relationships, about their mom. And I'm,
Not in my food.
And I'm just like sitting there listening, and I don't want to be rude, but there's a time where
I'm rude. I kick him out.
I know you're very. I thought I was direct, and then you came along, and
I'm like, get out of my kitchen.
Yeah, over the years, I've learned to be a bit more softer and delicate.
Yes, I try.
More gentle.
I remember cooking at an ashram, probably 2005, and we were cooking and we were volunteering in the kitchen up at Mangrove Mountain with Satchinanda, and there was somebody bitching about their divorce, and the yogi came over. He's like, "Please, can you stop that conversation?" No, second time, third time, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the kitchen. No ifs, ands, or buts. Leave the kitchen now.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. But all that macrobiotic stuff, cooking food as medicine to help Michelle get better. And this is now 20 years later. She's fine.
It's an energetic field as well. So if you're connecting that, and as we're saying with the water experiment, I highly recommend for people to go look into it.
Dr. Emoto. Yasumi Emoto. Yeah, University of Tokyo, water experiments.
He has like 3 different vases. You can do it at home as well, so you can do it yourself. He had 3 different jars. He had rice in 3 different jars, and because water is a conductor, so he used rice as it absorbs in the water, and he did an experiment where the first jar he was speaking very positive affirmations to it, the second jar he was speaking negatively to, and the third one he ignored.
Yeah.
So completely ignored it, and they found through that one that they ignored, it started rotting. The one that he was speaking positively in, it started molding, and then the one that he was speaking positively into, it was completely fine. And I talk about this a lot of the times, and I show it to everybody, and then I'm like, look into it, it's great. But I know some people will refute it, whatever, but do it for yourself. And that's
do it for yourself.
And you can do that experiment.
And this goes back to the fascia.
Yes.
The fascia is where the majority of the water in your body is stored.
We even hold trauma, and it manifests in our body. So, and even when someone,
meridian lines, acupuncture, stuff like that. This is all about the fascia, baby.
Exactly. And if with energy, as they say, we're energy.
Yes.
And if energy is produced, it's not going to go anywhere.
It can only transmute or transform.
Exactly. So it's going to be stored in there.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad we got to meet and cook together, and I got to share my Middle Eastern food with you. That you've got. Roland makes amazing Indian cuisine. I mean, he's well versed, but he loves cooking his Indian cuisine, and absolutely love it. I get to share the kitchen with him. I get to share the kitchen with him again very soon at Love Fest.
We've got Love Fest coming up, so we're going to be cooking.
I'll be making the jadara, which is the Middle Eastern lentil with the hummus. Yes, it's simple, easy. And I'm going to make tabbouleh as well.
Okay,
with
perfect.
Fatouche.
All right, then I'm going to make baba ganoush.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'll
make hummus, caramelized onions.
Now we're just starting talking about the recipes.
Well, Polos has been asking me he's like, I need to send him the recipe. So I might give this to him and be like, just here you go. Watch Mustard Flats. Watch my mace on Mustard Flats, and you will get the recipe right here. Yeah. I love that. Love Fest, I am really excited to go to. It's been on my to-do list. Yeah. I'm really excited. I love conscious events of gatherings. Roland and I do attend quite a few. We've met through a beautiful community of the Soul Shack, and we connected through cooking, and ever since we have been connected, and we just got along, house on fire. And it's such a privilege to be able to, it's such a community that people don't really know about, and it's, I guess, a subculture, whatever you want to call it. it doesn't sometimes get the best positive light. I guess some people think about it as hippies going into the wilderness and going on drugs. That's not necessarily the
No,
truth.
we go camping and reconnect with nature.
Absolutely.
And this is what, I'm going to bring this back now, back to AI, because this is what AI gives us an opportunity to do. If we're going to all be watched over by machines and loving grace, I would not have to, like I'm cooking at this Love Fest. I got to leave early because I got to fly to Brisbane to deliver a keynote on an AI conference in Brisbane, then back to Melbourne. I'm all over the place. And at the moment, I'm the tip of the spear trying to change the mindset of AI. But, you know, in Roland's perfect world, we've got a bloody war going on. We've got multiple wars going on in the world. We've got governments that you vote, and then your vote means nothing because somebody goes into power, and then a lobbyist group decides what the hell's going to happen in the politics. I want to shift this. So, where I think we're going to go with AI, what I really think we want to do.
The digital transformation.
This is the digital transformation. So
Yeah.
here's Roland's master plan.
Let's disrupt it. Let's disrupt
let's
the
disrupt
world.
this. Okay, so we've got, 206 sovereign states in the world, or nation states.
Correct.
I believe that nationalism and nationalist pride is a dangerous thing, especially when combined with religion.
Absolutely.
And nation states, everyone's like, oh, they've been around forever. Bullshit. The concept of nation states is about 300 years old.
It's just division. It's where the human race.
When France as a country was created, I think 18% people, or maybe 18% of the people spoke French. Okay? There were these groups of people and passports and border controls and all of the things that we go to war for, and fucking America, Russia, China, Australia, South Africa, all of these things are new concepts as well as the way we work. So how about this for an idea? Because I think I came up with this about 10 years ago.
Give it to us.
Give it to you. All right.
Give it to me.
So if we use the Linux developer network to develop AI that is distributed in a mesh network, so every person on their mobile device has a small bit of the code. Okay, we're going to get technical now. Stick with me. They've got a small bit of code on their network. We can use a mesh network, so there's no single server, there's no single thing to blow up. And then we look at the tiers of government. So in Australia, we've got 3 tiers of government. I've got municipal, I've got state, I've got federal. But where are you from, Maze? You're from Earth.
Exactly. I'm an earthling.
You're an earthling. You're a human being.
Yes.
Your religion is love.
Exactly.
If we take that principle, because we are on this planet and we are going to live and die on this fucking planet together. So let's say we have 4 layers of government that we should have, but at the moment we just vote on a national level, you know, and then we conflict and fight with everyone else. We spend approximately 40% of our tax dollars in administration on the state, federal, and national level, municipal, state and federal government, okay, and on the military. Between that and the military, we spend like 40% of our tax dollars. How about we use a distributed AI entity that uses blockchain to authenticate all communications to get rid of that, and we vote for everything. So there's a pothole in the road.
That's what we need. We need to bring power to the people.
We need to bring power to the people. True democracy. If you go back to Greece.
And that's how I was saying about AI. We can utilize it in a way, in a very positive, a positive way, can impact us as humans to showcase and show us that it will help us integrate what we've got now and give us a more leveled out playing field of just fairness, and also more power to us, and realize us humans don't realize the power of our mind. We don't realize how much we're capable of doing. Beautiful. And the more we can tap into that, and AI can actually help us with that in a very positive way.
Shift from a human doing to a human being.
Exactly.
We're supposed to be, we're not supposed to do. And I fall into this trap all the time. But imagine we vote on the pothole down the road. Everybody gets to vote, and it's checked with biometrics, run through a blockchain to authenticate your connection, and managed through an AI that is in a distributed method. Then we vote on a state level component. Then we vote on a national level component. Then we vote on a world component. Do we want deforestation of this? Do we want to kill whales here? If you look at what's happening in the world at the moment, the vast majority of people are voting against some of the genocide that's happening.
Absolutely.
They're protesting against it, but the governments that they put in power are not.
Absolutely.
So
we pay the government, right? And we're paying people to literally kill and enslave,
maim and rape and torture on our behalf with our dollars. My tax dollars going towards a war machine, burn my
It's
ass.
business. It's business. It's they're using their toys. They're like, oh, how can I
Yeah.
use my toys? Leave it there, dump it. I don't have to worry about cleaning up the dump. It's in a different country because that's also a different. That's another element of it. But it's all business and the people that
Ultra capitalism.
yes, exactly.
And lobby groups who use their power, to put down the vast majority of people. I believe we can give power, true democracy, back to the people using AI.
Absolutely. And with anything in life, you can use it in a very destructive way or a very positive way. And that's why it's our perception. What we're getting from this episode and what we're trying to get into is the perception, how you work and how the intention that you put into things. That's from
from
our food,
cooking to developing AI
exactly.
entities.
And it's all intention. And one of the things I had is a moment, psilocybin actually showed me that.
Plant medicine.
Plant medicine. And I'll call
It's got
it
energy.
Yes, and our medicine is great in so many ways, and holding space in that. And plant medicine is one of the best ways. It opened up my mind at 19. So that's when my brain just expanded. And I had a moment I looked out on the ground and I saw a snail and ants. And I moved the snail with my finger and I started crying because I was like, I was so aggressive towards it. This little snail is moving so slowly. So I started feeling like, be gentle, be gentle. So I started being gentle and I was like, just be gentle. And it was just the act of kindness to a small little snail. Yes. And then I saw... So as I was weak crying, I moved it to slowly away, and I didn't want it to be annihilated by the ants. But because I moved it so quickly, and I obviously tipped it over, and I was a bit quick with my movements, and then I realized this thing came upon me, and I took a big breath in, and I felt like I was taking a big breath in with the universe, with Earth itself, and I took it all in, and all I remember was like, you just need to be more gentle to your soul, gentle to your mind, gentle to everything around you. And ever since, and not saying it's easy, but I try to implement that every single day of my life. And
sound like Oprah, but it's a fucking journey, you know. And when the learning stops, we die.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our call to action is to get together developers around the world with a consciousness and build an AI, and it may be in line with what they're saying, an overarching AI that will watch over us with loving grace. That's what we want. That's what I want to see.
That's beautiful.
And we've got to empower people and a peer-to-peer mesh network of developers to deliver a solution. And I'm saying still keep the police, still keep the fire department. But how do they execute tasks? How do they fix the hole in the roads department?
Absolutely.
Somebody gets an email from a power higher up. If that power higher up can be an AI entity.
With no bias.
With no bias.
Exactly.
We can all live in this planet together.
Exactly, and then having that lasting effect on all of us. And what is your last message to all of our listeners, to all of our viewers? One last little message to everyone before we say goodbye.
This is going to be so important. If you treat others the way you want to be treated, as your underlying principle, people on the internet, strangers, everybody else, we are training artificial intelligence how to treat us moving forward.
Absolutely.
So everything we put on the internet is training. The large language model, the generative AI, it's fucking training it all.
Absolutely.
Be nice
to each other. Be kind to Siri.
Be kind to Siri.
Be kind to all your fellow humans. And speaking, I've got a little gift for you. Act of gifting. Also, learn people's love language and give them that love. And one of my love languages is gifting and receiving gifts, whatever that is.
Thank you so much. Mine is cooking and acts of service.
Giving and sharing.
Giving.
I have a cactus here for you.
Thank you so much.
It's a little cutie there. It's a Peruvian old lady cactus.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much, Maze. It's
enjoy it.
really been marvelous talking to you.
My pleasure.
I've really enjoyed it.
And I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I'm sure our listeners are going to absolutely love this.
I'll be back anytime, really.
I would love to have
I
you
got
here.
1,001 things that I could talk about, and I could talk underwater just like you.
We can talk for hours and hours on end.
Nick is like, okay, you got to wrap this up now because you guys will just go
He's like,
forever.
come on, wrap it up. Thank you so much to
Not at
everyone.
all. That was fascinating to listen to, and thank you for popping in.
It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. You can watch this on YouTube or you can listen on Spotify, Apple, all of the jazz. Thank you to Mustard Flats for having this channel and this platform for us for Mind Maze. Thank you, Roland. And we will see you on the flip side. Au revoir. Bye-bye.
Bye.